Kyle Busch departed Daytona with unanswered questions. Another tough loss for the two-time NASCAR champion. Between Atlanta last year and Daytona this year, Busch has come so close to winning at the superspeedways but has yet to do it. And now, with only one race left to clinch playoffs, he's in big trouble. Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch's old Joe Gibbs racing colleague, was pushing him. Those are two outstanding drivers working together to cross the finish line. On the outside, you have the youthful, inexperienced combination of Burton and Retzlaff. They have not won a single Cup Series game in fewer than 3 complete seasons. Retzlaff competed in his maiden Daytona Cup Series event. He also happened to be driving a car associated with Richard Childress Racing. On the backstretch, Retzlaff gave Burton a huge push. It pushed the 21 car ahead of Busch, and Retzlaff failed to clear the 8 car. From there, Burton blocked Busch and raced to the finish line. The 62 car was unable to maintain momentum on the outside line, dropping to 7th overall. However, Kyle Busch is not blaming the 21-year-old racer for his defeat, even if he was upset at the end. "It's just frustrating. We've led races here at Daytona going into the last restart and haven't been able to pull off a victory," Busch said. "Not sure what it is, what I'm doing wrong, or what it is that I'm missing. It seems like the energy broke up off of turn 2 and the num 20, Christopher Bell, got crooked and wasn't on my rear bumper the way we needed to be. The outside lane just went by. I wanted to get up in front of the number 21, Harrison Burton, because I knew the momentum was coming there. But I knew the no 20 was a better friend. It just didn't work out." Kyle Busch did everything he could. He even gave Burton a nudge in the front. It was not enough. Short of destroying the 23-year-old driver, Busch had to accept the result. You may point your finger at Parker Retzlaff all you want. It was not his responsibility when he joined up for this race to ensure Busch won. His task was to place the Beard Motorsports 62 Chevy in the lead with a few laps to go and then roll the dice. He did exactly that. Any motorist would have done the same. Kyle Busch should not be in a situation where he needs a Daytona victory to enter the playoffs. However, that is where the Richard Childress Racing team is at. And unfortunately for Kyle Busch, his weakness is Daytona. Busch has 63 Cup Series wins in his career, but just one in the World Center of Racing, the 2008 Coke Zero 400. Kyle Petty saw it all happen last weekend and had one significant question. Has Kyle Busch forgotten how to speedway race? What in God's name happened? He has control of the race on a green-white checkered, Petty said. He has the inside line, and he gets there with his friend Christopher Bell, who is going to help him because they were teammates at one point in time. They take the green flag, they take control of the race, they run on the bottom of the racetrack that first lap. Harrison Burton and Parker Retzlaff in the number 62 car, who had the biggest influence on the outcome of the race. Yeah, I know he finished 7th, but he changed the complexion of this race. They come back around, take the white flag, they come off turn 2. Kyle Busch is on the inside, and who comes up on the outside? Harrison Burton, with Parker right behind him, slamming him to the front. And as soon as Harrison Burton gets to the front, he pulls it down and he blocks Kyle Busch. Has Kyle Busch never watched Joey Logano or Brad Keselowski take control of a speedway race? Does he not know what video is? Somebody needs to send him a DVR, whatever it is. Send him some old race footage so he understands this. But it wasn't all up to Busch, as Retzlaff gave Burton the push he needed to pass Kyle Busch on the penultimate lap. A move that might have serious consequences for the 21-year-old racer. Retzlaff, making only his second career Cup Series start, drove the number 62 Chevrolet for Beard Motorsports, which is affiliated with Richard Childress Racing. RCR even provides Beard with engines, enabling them to race on superspeedways. Prior to the last restart, Kyle Busch took the lead. Harrison Burton sat on the outside of the front row. Christopher Bell was lined up behind Busch, with Retzlaff behind Burton. The 62 vehicle was apparently given instructions over the radio before to restart. According to reports after the race, Retzlaff was warned, "Do not push that 21 to a win." After the race, someone on the radio commented, "We did the exact opposite of what they asked us to do." So, did Parker Retzlaff make an error? He would have had to give up a row to line up behind Kyle Busch, and he would not have been certain to finish in 7th place at that point. As a result, you might see the problem as Retzlaff assisted Burton to victory rather than assisting Busch in crossing the finish line first, which would have sent him into the playoffs. The Athletic's Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi reported on Sunday's The Teardown podcast that Retzlaff's team urged him over the radio not to assist Burton win. Unfortunately for them, things turned out somewhat differently. Parker Retzlaff. There was conversation on his radio channel basically saying, Whatever you do, don't push the 21 Burton to a win, because Parker Retzlaff is driving a Chevy, and they don't want to push a Ford in. I think they would like to see a Chevy in, not knock a Chevy out, Gluck said. Ultimately, I think Parker Retzlaff has to do whatever he thinks is best for himself. I mean, he finished 7th and almost won the race. Bianchi added that he felt horrible for Retzlaff, who was ultimately doing what gave him the best chance of winning. I feel bad for him, because there's probably going to be some bad blood, and don't forget too, that team is kind of a quasi-affiliate team of RCR, Bianchi said. You can see why they're putting in this kid's head of, hey, do this! But so much easier to say than do in these closing moments. Retzlaff, who finished 7th, stated that while he did not necessarily want to drive a Ford to victory, it was the decision he needed to make for himself. Everyone works too hard to not have a shot at it, Retzlaff told Bob Pockras of Fox Sports. I definitely didn't want to push a Ford to the win in a Chevy, but I knew I needed to get Harrison clear to make it a race between me and him to race to the line there. I had a little bit of nose damage, and my line broke apart down the backstretch. I pushed him clear, and my line broke apart, and I had no chance to get clear. Even with Retzlaff giving the final push to Burton, Busch could have won, but he would have to do something that cost Austin Dillon his playoff spot, and Busch wasn't ready to do that. After the race, Busch said that he would have had to wreck Harrison Burton to win. He was unwilling to do that. Kim Burton, a mother and motorsport enthusiast, was pleased to hear that from the RCR driver. I appreciate Kyle saying his only chance was turning someone. Right rear at Daytona would be bad deal, and that he had the morals not to do that even with playoffs is huge for Kyle's race morals. While the stakes for Kyle Busch were the same as they were for Austin Dillon 3 weeks earlier at Richmond, Busch chose not to go that path. That is a major deal. It's beneficial for the sport. You may complain all you want about Rowdy, but he has matured, and he's leading the Cup Series garage by example on the racetrack. Kyle Busch still has one more shot to win his way into the NASCAR playoffs, but it is in Darlington. For those who are unaware, Busch has a questionable track record at Darlington. Busch's sole win at Darlington came in May 2008, when the track was only on the schedule for a season. In his past 6 races on the track, he has finished P27, P11, P7, P30, P33, and P35. Is Darlington going to be the turning point in his Cup Series career, given how bad his luck has been elsewhere? The most unlikely moment to have a flawless race? Busch and his RCR crew are undoubtedly figuring out how to achieve this right now, but they won't know until they go to the track. RCR's pace has increased in recent weeks. With back-to-back top 5 finishes for the first time this season, is Kyle Busch ready to break through and win at Darlington? We'll find out soon enough. What do you think? Will Rowdy be able to clinch a playoff spot? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.